We are in Sarona Place, Kfar Saba, Israel, and my guest today is Zohar Sacks from Disco. Did I pronounce it correctly, Zohar?
Yeah, Disco, distributed computing.
Are you ready to give us some insights?
Of course, happily.
Great. So, Zohar, what does Disco do, and what's your business model?
Okay, so basically Disco is working on creating an edge solution over present compute. And without getting too much into details, it's like letting you running compute jobs on your home devices.
And what's the end goal then?
The end goal is to give a better service to people who use IoT or 5G or all those new buzzwords that everybody like to talk about around latency, around cost, and around privacy.
Got it. And what's the business model? Is it is just technology? Does it have a business model within it?
So I usually like to do only one kind of companies, and that's infrastructure companies. So it's another infrastructure company. I worked before at Amdocs in a huge infrastructure project around network virtualization. Like I'm one of those people who have like a billion people running daily through their code. And then when I left and joined Disco and co-founded Disco, we took pretty similar problem in my view, and I'm about the only person who sees it as a similar problem, around virtualization of compute problems and stuff like this.
What drove you to the idea? What gave you did it like you take an analytical approach and thought, well, where can we fit things in, or it's kind of an itch that you had to scratch?
So that's a great question, because we can speak about what we needed to do and what we actually did.
Go ahead.
So we actually had an insight, and we went to raise with a vision that the market is surely going towards it, but we weren't very focused at it, which led at the end to a very painful 2 years. Like we built amazing stuff, and but it was a little bit not focused enough. And now lately we found a niche, and we did the thing you need to do, finding a very small niche, finding a design partner, understanding a real problem of the market, and trying to solve this problem.
What's the team size today, and how are you spread out? Everybody in Samsung TLV? Are you spread out at home?
So the entire product body is this fully distributed team, which is great fun and great challenge at the same time, because on one hand you can walk wherever you want. You can take your backpack and go walk in the Galil yesterday, like tomorrow if you want. On the other hand, most of the people walk in the other side of the ocean, so you need to learn how to manage your day around having evenings in conversation or nights in conversations, which is, once you adopt to it, it's okay, especially if you have small kids. It's like you can take a window in the middle to be with them and stuff like this. Disco is mostly Tel Aviv. We have about 10 developers in Israel. We have sales and project management in the US. So all in all, around 15 people. What
stage is currently Disco at? Is it in the development stage? You guys have salespeople, you say, so it's already ready to be sold?
Yeah, so we went to market. There is an untold story about companies who went too early to market. So we basically went too early to market. We had a larger sales department and sales body and GTM body, basically go-to-market body. And it was a little bit too early, and we tried for about 3 quarters to sell. We had some sales, not, to be honest, they could be better. People that bought were very satisfied, but we didn't, because we weren't focused. It was really hard. You need to be really, really focused. That's the most important thing. You need to be amazingly focused, because there is like a balance between sales, marketing, product, and development. They need to tell the same story, and somebody needs to lead this story. And when you have a story which is too wide, then development will tell the story that is the coolest to develop. Sales will tell the story that is coolest to sell, which means the story everybody wants to hear. That's okay, that's the job. Marketing will tell the story that will have the best AdWords, and product will tell the real story, but it'll be too wide. So you need to be very, very focused all the time. You need to understand what you want to do. And the most important question every morning need to be what I'm not going to do. What are the things I'm going to throw out of the bucket? What are the things that are not bringing revenue or that are not needed now? And be very brave at throwing features.
Who's the buyer usually?
Okay, that's a very interesting problem with framework play, because in a lot of places, the person who buys the framework is not the person who uses the framework. Depends on which framework you create. If it's I don't know, if it's Git-like thing, the old Git, and it costs like, I don't know, $50 per team, then the sovereign team can make decisions about those usually. So then you sell to the actual people who use it. But if you build a larger infrastructure, think about, just as an example, like Amazon. The person who decides to go to Amazon or to go to GCP or to go to Azure is not the person who will pay for it, and it's not the person who will use it every day. These are sometimes three different people. So you need to build your sales position in a way that will allow you to speak to the three of them, and hope that you will not get on a meeting with all of them together, because then it's a very confusing conversation. But basically you need to show everybody how they get value in the language they understand. Okay, the buying function, it can be a CFO, it can be a purchasing person or something like this. Their main thing is to show that their KPI is to show that something costs X and they got it by X minus delta. So you need to have the delta ready. You need to know how you can negotiate with them. The different stakeholders throughout the organization. For instance, in infrastructure, you need to have the DevOps approval for everything. You need to see what benefit they get from this. In our case, we told them that they can focus on the job they really want to do, on building a scalable business and stuff like this. They don't need to work on to solve problems of daily development problems that we can solve for them. And then you have the developers for whom, in our case, we solve the problem, or we solved it before the pivot. We had the pivot lately. And then you need to show them what's the value they're getting. And in order to have those three stories aligned, basically you're telling the same story in three different angles. Mm-hmm. So in order to tell the story in a coherent way and have every person understand it and on board with you, you must be laser sharp focused. I'm saying it again. I know I said it like 10 minutes ago, but that's the main thing. Like I can tell you my elephant story, it's not mine. You know the old elephant story? No. 4 blind men went to the zoo, and somebody let them feel an elephant. So one of them was holding the elephant ear. It was like a pita bread, like something soft and soggy and very large. The other person was holding the let's say it's 3 blind men, so it'll be shorter. The second person was holding the elephant leg. So he felt like, like a pillar with nails or something, like spikes at the end. And the third person was holding the elephant tail. And he felt like a small whip with very bad smell. So at the end, they went back to their classroom, and somebody asked them, how is the elephant? And one of them said it's a loaf of bread. The other said it's a pillar, and the third one said it's a whip with bad smell. So don't let your product be this elephant. Yeah. Your product needs to tell a very, very simple story. If you can't pitch I'm usually telling people that if you can't pitch your product to your grandmother, your pitch is bad. You are too much into ego. You're too much into saying big words inside description of an idea. You will have time for the big words when you speak with the subject matter experts. Try to keep it simple. Try to explain very sharply what you're giving to the world.
From the first line of code in Disco until the first paying customer, what was kind of the timeline?
Okay, so this is something we did right, even though our story was too large. We started to talking with people which we thought have a problem, out of which we found a few that definitely had a problem we wanted to solve. And then we tried to look on how they work today and which points are the problem points, because it's really important. In my view, customer interview is like the most important thing in the process. You need to sit with somebody and have like 30% of the time you need to talk, 70% of the time he need to talk. If you can do it, that you will not talk at all, it's even better. You need to listen really good, to look very good, to ask him to show you or her to show you how they work today, and to understand from the nuances of what they're doing, what are the problems. So in our case, we ask somebody to show us how it works. So we open the command line tool and he started hitting some keys, and then he took a job that he wanted to distribute to 200 machines, click enter, and the job went into a queue. So I told him, can you show me how it runs? And he said, no, now I need to wait for the queue of the entire institute he was working in. So I told him, okay, what's the largest problem here? Like, where do you feel pain? He said, I need to wait in the queue. I told him, your job takes like 3 days. What do you care for a few hours in the queue? He said, but I'm waiting in the queue. I said, okay, we need to solve the queue, no problem. We need to be elastic. We need to be very fast in this. You need to know when you're talking to customers, you need to understand what is part of their basic language and what is part of their what is a problem, what is not a problem, okay? Because when we went back to the office and we showed the finding to the team, our designer told us, wow, why do they do a command line? I can build a graphical tool that will do it in 3 clicks, it will be amazing. I told him, no, it's terrible. They're creating tons of data, and the data is quite similar. They're doing it with grep and sed and awk and all those tools that they know for 20 years. We don't want to change the entire package. We want to change the job submission. If you're taking them from the command line, where they live, to a web just to create all the jobs, they will have a problem. So immediately we knew we need a CLI tool, for instance. Mm-hmm. So as for your question, in about 3 months we had first thing working, and
that's impressive.
Sort of paying customer.
Today, how are you getting or planning on getting new customers? So marketing, is it mostly based on, probably not, but Facebook ads? Is it based on events, or how does it work?
So basically we are now looking at it as sort of an ideation phase. I think that at the beginning the founders need to put the backpack and start knocking doors. So we're knocking any door we can, and we build an amazing system. I think that's the most important thing about this knocking door exercise, because a lot of founders will knock doors, but they won't know what they want to get there, what they want to achieve, what are the goals, how they elaborate it and stuff like this. So we are in ever proceeding learning process of understanding who we want to speak to, trying to get to them, getting to subset of them, speaking to them, looking at the findings, going back to the forum of stakeholders, looking at the findings, thinking what we understand from those findings, going back to them again sometime, asking them who they can introduce us, because people like to introduce people to people. Like, it's nice to them. Tell them, do you know somebody who can be interested in the thing I showed you as well? If they like it, of course. If they don't like it, they usually don't do intros. So we are more in a door knocking phase. We build the organizational chart of every place we're going to work to talk to, because you need to know who you speak to and who are the stakeholders and what are their position. We are writing a summary of each meeting, each customer interview. So it's basically door to door, and having a lot of process behind it. It's not just meet people and hope they will use you.
So
and
you're meeting people, and that starts the funnel actually to get all of the data in, goes back in the company, processing it, etc.
Yeah, and you need to always check if you are meeting the people in the right time. And maybe, we had people that the minute we got out of the meeting, we set to ourselves reminder for 3 months forward to talk to them. And that's something you need to learn, because, as a developer, before you start to be entrepreneur, if you went to somebody and told him, can you do it? And you say no, you tell him okay, and you went home. But as an entrepreneur, you can't hear the no. There is no such thing as no. I spoke to a VP R&D of some amazing company, and he was interested in the project, but he says, I have 3 other projects before it. So you can't accept this no. It's sort of a soft no, but it's a no. So I told him, when will they be done? When do you expect them to be done? When will be a good time to speak to you again? And instead of me starting nagging him every 2 weeks, asking for proactive input about when will be a good time for me to talk to him. And he said, I don't know, talk to me in 3 months' time. So I told him, okay, I'm sending the invite now. Which hour will be okay? What hour do you usually like to have meetings? Do you like it in the evening, in the morning, in the afternoon? It's okay. And since we had this thing, he had my meeting appear to him 3 months before he thought to close the calendar, the schedule for this week. So I was there. So I think that's a very good approach. You need to always look how you can open the next door.
At the stage of your company right now, how do you guys measure growth? If you are, right? Is it more about advancements in the product? Is it more about top-line revenue? Is it more about some other metric?
Well, basically for now we are in the ideation phase. We're still looking into a large pivot we are working on, but there is only one thing that matters. That's dollar in the bank. All the rest is just...
But in the ideation phase, do you then measure the amount of door knocks that you're doing or the customer interviews that you're doing? Or
basically we're setting us goals that are around, like I'm just in the process of setting those goals. It's a good time to ask. We're trying to we're working in the OKRs way of managing stuff, objective key results. Like you're setting an objective and then setting the key result that you expect to achieve this objective. We're trying to look one step further. When looking a year forward, I'm trying to look one step further, not about the doors that I'm knocking on, but around the partnerships that I was able to create. I'm not looking now at money, I'm looking now at data. I need more data. Data is my money now.
Yeah.
So my revenue,
That's your metric.
Yeah. So I'm trying to see how many people gave me data and how was I able to use this data to create a partnership with them. Okay, because usually when somebody gives you data, they expect you to listen to them and come with them with some outputs. So that's basically what we're looking at now. We tried in the past to work on numbers. It was hard. We met the numbers. We wanted to have, 70 customer interviews in a quarter. We had 70 relevant customer interviews in the quarter. But I think it's not an amazing key result because you need some quality. Sometimes one customer that is big enough is giving you tip big enough that you can create maybe even a one-off for this customer and have an amazing company. And sometimes you are spreading a lot of time on talking to very small companies. By the way, that's another KR we're working on. We don't have it set yet. Don't ask me the number. But we're trying to evaluate the size of the opportunity when you speak to people. Okay, if I want to sell you something, it doesn't matter if you are AT&T or a startup, I will need to put effort into onboarding you, making you a customer, starting to get money from you. Of course, it's different scale. I mean, AT&T and a small startup, but it's a lot of effort in both cases. So we always try to check what will be the size of the opportunity. Let's say it's the most, taking a time machine, going to the future. It's the best customer we ever had. How much revenue are we going to get from this customer? How much money is going to cost us to acquire this customer? How those numbers look? So that's another metrics we're looking at in this phase.
As a founder, at this stage of the company, what keeps you up at night in terms of business? So what are you worried about?
I'm basically looking into finding a valid partnerships that can progress our product. I want to have a product that answers a problem and not a product that answers an assumption. Assumptions are cheap. Everybody has assumptions. Everybody's smart. Everybody has assumptions. But real problems are when you find them, you need to solve them, and then you can have customers. Nobody will buy assumptions. So that's the main thing that I'm focusing on. Keeping my team happy. It's really hard to work full remote, like everybody in the home because of COVID. So we're trying to do some fun activities, but it's like Zoom fun activities. It's not as fun as having beer face to face and stuff like this. So these are the two main things.
What's the toughest thing about being a founder for you?
So this is like my third or fourth startup, depends how you count. I think that one of the things that are, I'm not sure if they're hard, but they're very important, is to always find what is the best next thing to do. Okay, maybe it's the hardest as well. You know, when you have work, like workplace, you have a manager, and if you're starting to do the fun stuff over the needed stuff, it will sometime will come and do a small talk with you and tell you maybe you want to focus on those things. As a founders, you need to do, in my view, you need to do anything, like from cleaning the glasses to selling, doing product, doing tech, everything, especially as like CTO in my view is all over the place, like they need to be in everywhere. So there are things that are more fun naturally, you know, I prefer to sit and think about strategy or create strategy documents or talk to customers or stuff like this. And on the other hand, there are things that are more needed. I know, like arranging some backlog or looking into documents we wrote 2 months ago and see how the assumptions they met the reality and stuff like this. So I think one of the things you need to have is like a very good way to manage yourself. You don't have anybody to tell you what you do. You know, you can do any stupid thing you want to do. You can waste your time any way you want. Nobody will care about it. And you need to always think what is the best thing to put my time on in the coming slots that I have.
What's your golden tip or tips for first-time founders or founders just starting out from your experience?
Take the money and run. No, I'm just kidding. The first tip I always give people is your product is not a secret. Okay, at any given second, that at least 25 entrepreneurs, at least as gifted as you, working on the same idea, the exact same idea throughout the globe. They're more funded than you, they have get better approach to the market, they might be smarter than you, so don't be afraid. You need to tell your story. Every time you tell your story, it becomes a little bit better. Every time you tell your story, you understand what you want to do a little bit better. Sometimes you'll tell the story to somebody, will tell you, I met this company who does the same thing, and then you know that one of those 25 entrepreneurs is using the same word but solving a different problem. Maybe we can start working together. We have several cases like this. It was very fun, very fun. So tell your story to everybody. But make sure that you tell your story to a good portion of people who are very, very high on criticism. Like when you tell your story to your mother and your spouse, and your friends, they will adore you. You do something that not a lot of people are doing, and it's amazing, and you start building something new, and you probably need pet talks and encouragement. That won't take you anywhere in the product. The thing you need is to go to the most annoying friends you have, the people that always find the bad things about something, and show them your solution. And take your ego as low as you can, and just listen to what they're saying. And if you correlate with what they're saying, you need to either change your story, change your solution, or leave your project. Another tip is a very small tip, but very, very important. When somebody is telling you about a problem they have, ask them which other tool they try to use to solve this problem. This is a very, very simple tip, and it's amazing. Like one of my friends came to me and told me, somebody showed me a guitar teaching application. That's amazing, he will do millions. And I told him, you have 3 guitars at home. Why aren't you using one of the 100 other solutions to learn guitar online? And his father said, I don't have time. So I told him, so your friends need to create a time machine or something that will take care of your family and kids' earns while you play the guitar, or something that will change your perception of guitar. It doesn't need the software. The software is out there. They need another tool. So it's really important to ask always people which other tools you used to solve this pain. If they haven't used other tools to solve that pain, it's not a real pain.
COVID-19, how has that affected Disco and the team, morale, business?
COVID is really, really hard. It's hard for people who have kids because they have kids around all the day, young kids. It's hard to people who are younger because they're alone most of the day. It's hard for the business because people just stop buying anything they don't really, really need. So you need to think about, I don't think you can be prepared to it in advance. It's like full surprise. But you need to try and to adjust very fast to see if, how do you manage the stream of money going out of the company or burn rate? How do you manage it? Maybe you need to do some changes there. Maybe there are painful changes, but you're the manager. You need to make the calls. Maybe you need to cut on expenses in other cases. Maybe because it's COVID and people won't buy now, you need to cut your marketing budget now or something like this. So that's one thing. And the second thing is to don't forget that at the end, people are people, and you need to keep your team in a good spirit as well. So I started a lot of short meetings weekly with all my team, just to see that they're alive, talking about anything. I talked yesterday about buying Xbox with one of them, which I thought which one I want to buy, or football or soccer or anything, doesn't matter, just to speak. At the beginning of COVID, we were doing together some coffee breaks. Everybody got coffee, sat together speaking. It's worked for some times, then it got boring. And one good thing to do is to change your meeting habits. You need to have a lot of meetings, but the day looks very strange when you're at home all the time. You need to make yourself lunch. You need to a lot of stuff that are different than the office. So the way I approach it is to have a band of meetings, like a few meetings in the morning, then have a lot of free time, and then a few meetings in the afternoon for the entire team. For me, my day can be a meeting end to end because that's my job. So the developers can start playing with their time, or the actual knowledge workers can start playing with their time. They know that they need to be at 10 a.m. in the daily. They know that the planning is happening weekly at the afternoon. I don't remember the hour now. And aside from that, they can manage their day and be flexible. So you need to understand that it's people, they need some flexibility as well. Don't clog their day with meetings end to end. I think that's the main tips around COVID.
If Disco tomorrow is acquired by a big company, you get lots of money. You go home and enjoy time with family, or you're back in the game of startups?
Both. Why to choose, First of all, I don't buy this work and life balance thingy. I think you're always juggling. You always have too many balls in the air. You always need to juggle them. And at each point, you need to do what is right at this point. So remember what is important to you and work around it, around the problems. Secondly, I really like my family. And I really like my job. So why do I need to make compromises here?
So you're just finding a different startup, back in the game again.
I once, it's a very hard time. A lot of young people experiencing a crisis, an economic crisis for the first time. I experienced 2000, 2008, and 2020. Okay, maybe it's me, like 2020, 28, and 20, the 2000. Maybe it's me, I don't know. Maybe I'm the jinx. And in one of those, I had some 3 months between jobs. And I said, maybe I'm not in the right work. Maybe I need to find something else to do. So for 2 months, I will not look for a job. I will change my game. I will go to drink coffee every morning. I will read the newspaper. I will go for long walks on the beach and stuff like this. So in the first day, I sat in the coffee and finished the entire newspaper. And I read really fast, like half hour. In the second day, I found out that the only thing that interests me is the economical section. And in the third day, I found out that the only thing that interests me in the economical section is the technology section. So I said, okay, I need to find a job. That's what I like to do. So I guess that if I will have all the money in the world, I will do something around software. I'm not sure it will be startup. Maybe it'll be something more social or diversity and inclusion or something like this. But it will be something around technology and software for sure.
Well, Zohar, thank you very much for being our guest today. I wish you a lot of luck with Disco, and congratulations on the pivot. And again, good luck with that.